Today, we're diving into a scientific breakthrough that is so profound, it honestly sounds like something straight out of a movie. But the craziest part? It's how it connects to some of the most ancient wisdom on Earth. So, let's get right into it. So, right off the bat, this sounds impossible, right? I mean, it seems to break every rule of reality we know. We see things, they're solid, they're separate. But what if that basic assumption isn't, well, the whole picture? What if science is getting ready to prove it? And believe it or not, our journey kicks off not in some ancient text, but right in the heart of modern physics, with its biggest award. Okay, so let's just imagine for a second. Picture this. It's November 2025. The Nobel Prize in Physics gets awarded for a discovery that just changes everything, for seeing something happen that we've all been told our entire lives is totally impossible. The name for this breakthrough is macroscopic quantum tunneling. And that first word, macroscopic, that is the whole ballgame. It means it's big enough to see with your own eyes. So we are not talking about some invisible little particle anymore. We're talking about an object you could actually hold. So how on earth is this even possible? What makes this such a gigantic leap forward? Let's break down the science of it. You see, for about a century now, physicists have known that tiny, microscopic particles can do this bizarre little trick called tunneling. But that was always stuck in the invisible world. The huge breakthrough here is taking a complex, visible object, something like the circuit board, and getting the whole thing to follow those same weird quantum rules. It's kind of like teaching a mountain to act like a cloud. The way they do it is just wild. First, they isolate an object, say that circuit board. Then they cool it down to almost absolute zero. We're talking unbelievably cold. This basically stops all the little atomic jitters until trillions of atoms start to behave like one single unified thing. You'd induce this quantum state, and you're essentially reminding the object that, deep down, it's not a solid thing. It's just one big wave of possibility. And in that state, it can pass right through a barrier. Okay, and this is the moment where things get really interesting, where hard science starts to sound a whole lot like ancient philosophy. To really get the deeper meaning here, let's use a simple analogy.
Just think about a pen and a wall. What this experiment does, essentially, is find a way to temporarily dissolve the penness of the pen, that illusion of it being solid, and reveal what it really is underneath, a wave of energy. And when it's in that state, it doesn't collide with the wall. It can actually merge with it and pass right on through.
Now here's where we make the jump. What if that pen wasn't just a pen? What if it could think? What if it had its own sense of self? This is where the analogy gets really deep. See, if the pen is completely attached to the idea that I'm a solid, separate pen, it creates conflict. It hits the wall. End of story. But if the pen could somehow awaken to a deeper wisdom and realize that both it and the wall are just different patterns of the exact same universal energy, then there's no conflict. That realization is what some philosophies call emptiness. And that doesn't mean nothingness. It means the shared potential that everything is made of. By letting go of that rigid idea of being a self, it can just flow. So you've got this incredible scientific breakthrough on one hand, and this really profound philosophical idea on the other. But what if they're not separate at all? What if they're just two different languages trying to describe the exact same thing?
Think of this like a translation guide. What modern science is calling the macroscopic world, the world of solid stuff we see and touch. Well, Eastern philosophy has called that form for ages. And that microscopic world underneath it all, that fundamental reality of energy and potential, philosophy calls that emptiness or essence.
And this idea leads us straight to one of the most famous and powerful lines in Eastern thought, from the Heart Sutra. It's not saying that solid form becomes emptiness. It's saying they are two sides of the very same coin, happening at the exact same time. The solid world we see is, right here and right now, the quantum world of potential. And it's not just in one tradition. The Taoist philosopher Zhuangzi put it another way, really hammering home this idea of fundamental unity. This isn't just nice poetry, you see. It's a description of reality that modern physics is actually starting to prove with experiments. So, where does all this leave us? What does it all mean? Well, we might be looking at one of the greatest meeting points in the history of human thought. Think about it. For centuries, humanity has basically been on two different paths to find the truth. Scientists used external tools, telescopes, particle colliders, to look outward. At the same time, sages used internal tools, meditation, introspection, to look inward. And after all this time, going in what seemed like opposite directions, they might just be arriving at the very same destination. I mean, the implications here are just staggering. This stops being just a physics experiment. It becomes a potential physical validation of a worldview the mystics and sages have held for thousands of years, that the universe, at its very core, is one single unified whole. And that leaves us all with a final, unavoidable question. If the boundary between a pen and a wall is ultimately just an illusion, what does that say about the boundary between you and the universe? If all things truly are one, then who or what are you?